we've all been greeting each other and talking a bit, and so I want to say also shalom and welcome to those of you who are listening to the recording of these classes. So what I want to do, what I want us to try to do together is sort of a journey through the sources of the Zohar and the Ari, Rabbi Isaac Luria, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria from the 16th century. If you don't know a lot about him, I mean, look him up in Wikipedia, because I'm not really going to talk about that so much. We're anyway going to be beginning with the Zohar. And our focus is going to be on Rosh Hashanah specifically. You know, as I wrote to you at the beginning, I would really love to do this in the future every Elul time, and then next year we do Yom Kippur, and then the year afterwards Sukkot, and then Hoshana Rabbah and Shmini Atzeret, you know, each year. And we should all live so long and be healthy, and our technology should maintain, et cetera, et cetera. So our focus will be on Rosh Hashanah, but we need to we will also have a picture of what all this time, the Tishrei holidays are about, what they're about, a general picture. And that's what the first Zohar that we're studying is going to be doing. But I should also say one other thing, just to give you a sense how this looks from, I could say Kabbalistic eyes, but I feel that's limiting it because of the time of year that we're at right now. The time of the year is that you know, we're going towards the equinox. That's the first thing we have to remember. You know, this is forgotten a lot, that our holidays are really also revolving around light and darkness, So we're going towards darkness. Sarlea, I see what you wrote. I'll send it in the email afterwards, the verse. You know, if I'd thought of this before, I would have put it on the screen. Anyway, we're going towards darkness now. We have been from a while, since the 21st of June, I think it is. We call it Kufat Tammuz, the Tammuz time. Now we're going towards Kufat Tishrei, the Tishrei time. And it's a very parallel time to Nisan, also, the month of Nisan. But I don't want to call it now Tishrei. I don't want to call it Tishrei. I want to call it the 7th month. You know, in the Torah, it doesn't have these names, Elul, Tishrei, Adar, all these, I think, Babylonian or Sumerian names. In the Torah, it goes by numbers. And this is the 7th month, because all this business about Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, I mean, you know, that was a great way of branding it at a certain point, but this isn't really mentioned in the Torah. For the Torah, it's, I would say in general, the sense is the fact that we're going now towards the 7th month is really, really significant because of the number 7. Because as all, especially those of you who learned Sefer Yetzirah know the moment you're hitting the number 7 in any cycle, that is going to be extremely significant, and you're going to have all sorts of associations coming up around that. And Sefer Yetzirah already said, when we hit the number 7, I mean, I don't need Sefer Yetzirah for this, in the Torah already. Shabbat, when you hit the 7th day, it's Shabbat. When you hit the 7th year, it's Shemitah. When you hit the 7th of the 7 Shemitot, it's Yovel, the Jubilee year. So whenever you enter 7, whenever you enter in any cycle the number 7, we know it's a very special time. It's different than anything else. And we're always going to have a sense that this is holy time. This is sacred time. The second we're in any 7th, whether it's the 7th day or 7th month, it's going to be sacred time, which is why we have more holidays in the 7th month, certainly Torah holidays than we do it any other time by far. And it's because it's the 7th. That's number one. That's number one. That again, we don't need Kabbalah for that. That's the case in the Torah. And just so you should know, I will stop a couple times so that people can share or ask questions, whatever. But in the meantime, we're going to start the Zohar in just another moment after I say one other thing about the number 7, and now I'm being specific for Mekubalim, for Kabbalists. The number 7 is going to have to do with the 7th Sphira, when I'm looking at 7 instead of 10, and the 7th Sphira is the Shekhinah, the divine in the feminine divine, divine feminine, however you call it, the goddess, you know, the female. I don't like that. It doesn't work exactly because it's actually whatever our Hebrew idea of what's called in English God in. So this is its feminine aspect. And so we'll be talking about this more. So that's number 1. Number 2, it's also going to be a time of din, a time of what's translated as judgment, okay? But I'm going to be, I don't like that word judgment. I'm going to say din right now, and we're going to be talking about it more as we get into the Zohar. But I just want you to know that this is what is in the background of the biblical imagination and the Zohar imagination when we're coming into the 7th month. This is the significance of it. Okay, so now with your kind permission, I'm going to put the Zoharic text on your screens so that you can see it. And luckily I discovered that I had the wrong file out before we started in time to put the right file up, I hope. Yes. So this Zohar is going to be based on 2 verses, one from Shira Shirim, Song of Songs, and one from Yeshayahu, Isaiah. And we'll have, I put them there so we can read them when we get to them in the Zohar. But let's first get into the Zoharic atmosphere. And one of the really special things about learning Zohar, first of all, I want to tell you, I always read Zohar in Aramaic, and I am taking into account as I wrote that there might be some among you who are not fluent in Zoharic Aramaic, so I will be translating everything into English. However, it's not however, but I want you to know that hearing the sound of the Aramaic, especially of the Zohar, which is so beautiful, is part of learning, you know, it's part of integrating or internalizing the Zoharic message. And a lot of times the Zohar gives us the setting of where this particular teaching was given. And that's what we're doing here. I'm sort of entering into the middle of a sentence, so I'm going to begin. This is from Zohar, I believe the part, it's Chelik Gimel, the 3rd part, Daf Resh Yud Daled, page 214. It's, it might be Re'eh, but I'm not sure. No, it's going to be later than that. Anyway. I'm just checking with the chat here to make sure that, okay, that you're just talking about the verse, so I don't need to see that, that's fine. Okay, so, Ad Dehavu Azle, as they were going, who is they? Some of the students of Rabbi Shimon, we'll meet them in the next paragraph. So as they were walking, Shim Shahava Takifa, the sun was very strong. V'yatvu tchotzila d'chad tinra d'midbara. So they sat down beneath the shade of a stone in the desert. They were walking through the desert and the sun got really strong. So they found a stone that gave them shade. Amar Rabbi Elazar, he's the son of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He said, Vadai tzila chedvata danafshahu. Shade, nothing better. Nothing makes a soul more happy than finding some shade. So this is the background. Forget the sea that we saw at the beginning, the picture that I had up at the beginning. Right now, we're talking about the desert, but finding a rock that gives you shade. Anybody who has hiked through a desert knows exactly what they're talking about. So, Amar Rabbi Chia to Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Chia said to Rabbi Elazar, Ilen Yomin miRosh Hashanah ad Yom HaBatra'ad Chag. These days, from Rosh Hashanah till the last day of the holiday. The last day of the holiday, of course, is the 8th day, Shmini Atzeret. And I'm calling it, I'm always, as we're going to be studying, I'm going to call that day Shmini Atzeret. I know there you have 2 days, Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah. But I mean, really, what it is, it's 2 days of Shmini Atzeret, those who keep 2 days. According to the Torah, which with this whole 2 days business is, what can I say, sort of questionable, but let's leave that. But according to the Torah, it's Shmini Atzeret, it's the 8th day, that's the name. This whole Simchat Torah business is much later, probably also, the Kabbalah is also probably to be blamed for that. But you know, in the Torah, we're talking about the 8th day, and that's the way I would like to think of it, well, for now. So he's asking, these days from Rosh Hashanah till Shmini Atzeret, Ba'ina l'meikam alayu, I would like to stand on them. In other words, I would like to understand them. What are they about? What are they about? Amar Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Elazar said, Ha'itmar. Well, we already learned this. It's already been said. V'chavraya yit'aru b'hu. And the friends, the companions, in other words, the students of Rabbi Shimon, they all awoke. They all became woke through these words. In other words, they took the words that had been said and they were awakened as a result. What he's saying is, no, what are you asking me? We've already learned this. Amar Rabbi Chia said, Vadai hachihu. I know that, you know, of course that's the case. I am aware that it's already been spoken about. Aval, but, Ana Shamana levotzina kadisha ila mila behu. I heard the great lamp, the highest great lamp, had a word to say about all of these days. Now, the highest great, the holiest, highest lamp or menorah or fire, who is that? This is a Zoharic term for none other than Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the main teacher of the Zohar. And he's called the Botzina Kadisha. The Aramaic word Botzina, it's like a torch. A torch is sort of in the Australian way of saying it. It's like, you know, something you might be holding that has a fire. And Rabbi Shimon is called the Botzina. He's the fire. He's the torch, and he's the holy fire. And here he's the highest holy fire. And Rabbi Chia said, you know, I remember that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai had something to say about Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret and Yom Kippur. So Amar they. So Rabbi Elazar says back to him, Ema hu mila. So say it already. You know, if that's what you're getting at, you ask me what are they. So say it. Amar they ad lo ka'amina be. So he says, I'm not really there. You know, I don't. Literally, this means I haven't stood on it yet. What he's saying is, you know, I remember Rabbi Shimon said something, but it's not really internalized yet by me. I don't know it well enough to be able to say it myself. Amar Rabbi Elazar said back to him, Afal gav de chavaraya ukmu mila v'shapirhu. He said, even though the companions already spoke about this, and whatever they said was wonderful, Aval, Sidura Dahani Yomin, the order of those days from Rosh Hashanah to Shmini Atzeret, Raza de Chochmatahu ben Mechatzte Chakla. This is a secret of wisdom, a wisdom secret amongst the reapers of the field, the harvesters of the field. The people who study Kabbalah, who study the Sod, the secrets, in the Zohar are called Mechatzte Chakla, the harvesters of the field, because the field is the earth is the Shekhinah, our mother, and those who study Kabbalah, they are the ones who are gathering the fruits of the earth, harvesting the fruits of the earth, the mother, the Shekhinah, because more than anybody else, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai restored the ability to think, imagine, speak, communicate with God in the feminine. So because of that, the Mekubalim, the Yodei Sod, the ones who know the secrets of the Kabbalah, are called Mechatztei Chakra, the harvesters of the field being the earth, the Shekhinah, who they are, her faithful. We'll see how we call them in a little bit. So in other words, Rabbi Elazar actually knows what Rabbi Shimon said, and he's going to share it now with Rabbi Chia, and fortunately enough, with us also. And this is what he has to say. Tachazeh, look, he says, come and see. Ha'itmar sidura di'echula kula b'chad hechave. I can tell you the order of this unification, how all these days are connected. I can say it like in one sort of idea, exactly how it is. V'ha'itmar, and it was already said. Patach ve'amar. He opened up and said, this is a Zoharic way of beginning to speak. It always says patach ve'amar, meaning he opened up and said. Before the wise people of the Zohar spoke, they opened up. That's how you have to speak Zohar. That's how you have to hear Zohar. Patach, you have to open up. You have to open your heart, whether you're the speaker or whether you're the person listening or hearing what's being said. And then he quoted a verse from Yeshayahu, from Isaiah, which we are going to see right here. Here it is, Pasuk Yud from Perek Nun Bet, 52:10. Chasaf Adonai et zroa kodsho le'inei kol hagoyim vera'u kol afsei aretz et yeshuat. Oop, it cut me off there. Eloheinu, it should be. And this means God revealed his holy arm in front of the eyes of all the nations, and all the assembled of the earth have seen or will see the salvation of our God. And this whole chapter in Yeshayahu is talking about, here, I brought you one verse so you could get a sense of it. Some of you will recognize this from L'Chadodi in Kabbalat Shabbat. Na'ari me'afar kumi shavi Yerushalayim. Or probably Shuvi Yerushalayim. It means awaken, arise from the dirt, return, O Jerusalem. Hipatchi mosvei tzavarech, open up or unleash the ropes around your neck. Shavia bat Zion, O ye who are captive, you daughter of Zion who are captive. So of course the verse in Yeshayahu is talking about Jerusalem, who's been conquered, the people of Israel. But for the Kabbalists, for the Mekubalim, for the Mechatztei Chakra, so these verses are all talking about the Shekhinah. These verses are all talking about, I hope you remember the word Shekhinah. I said already, it's our way of referring to what we call, or who we call God in the feminine. So the Shekhinah becomes Yerushalayim, and the Shekhinah, I mean, this is a whole few series on its own, but the Shekhinah is with us. The Shekhinah is the earth. The Shekhinah is the divine presence. It's translated, especially in the Talmud. It means, it's strange, but in the vision of the Mekubalim, the masculine aspect of God is a little bit distant. The masculine aspect is very much sort of what they call the Old Testament God. But the Shekhinah, she's with us here, in the middle of, she's on the earth, and all of what that means. And she pays a price for that. She pays a price for that. She is sullied. by having to spend time here in this existence with us. She loves us so much, she wants to be with us, but she also wants to rise up and take us with her, basically. That is what she wants to do. So for the Mekubalim, for the Kabbalists, the Mechatzei Chakla, this sort of talk to Jerusalem becomes a talk to the Shekhinah. And that's basically where he's getting this verse from. So let's go back to the text itself now, and we will be making a stop soon, as I said. So this is what he says. Patach v'amar, he opened up and said, Chasaf Adonai et zroa kodsho. God revealed his holy arm. Da deroa chada, this is one arm, Devei Talia Yeshua, on whom salvation is dependent, on this arm. Devei Talia Nukma, on whom vengeance is dependent, on this arm. Devei Talia Purkana, that liberation is dependent on this arm. Okay? So, first of all, maybe you can guess. We're talking about the left arm of God here. We're talking about his left arm, and that is what's being revealed now. The left arm is the side of Din, okay? Din is judgment, but you know, and this is very important because we're going to be talking a lot about Din over these meetings. Din, which we translate as judgment, is also the word used for the Sphira of Gvura. Gvura means power. Another older word for that Sphira is Koach, strength. So, you know, when you're trying to imagine this word Din, which is translated into English as judgment, you also have to be thinking about the other words that are used for expressing the left side. The left side, by the way, is the feminine. And the words around it in the Kabbalah are judgment, power, strength. The man, he's chesed, the male, he's chesed, kindness, softness. It's very interesting. I'm not going to get into it so much right now, but I just, you know, and you don't have to agree with it either. It doesn't, I just want you to understand the language the Mekubalim speak. So when the left arm of God is revealed, watch out, okay? Watch out, because it's being revealed to rectify a not good situation. So, but here he goes on to say even more. Why is the left arm being revealed? V'lama, why? L'mekam la l'knesset Yisrael. He wants to, he's like giving his hand to Knesset Yisrael, literally mean the assemblance of Israel, but it's one of the many, many Zoharic words for the Shekhinah, okay? So basically he's putting out his left hand to give her a hand, L'mekam la l'knesset Yisrael mi'afra, to rise up, to pick Knesset Yisrael, the Shekhinah, up from the ground. Ulakablala legabe, and to bring her to him. He wants to hug her, basically. He doesn't want to just hug her. Lizdavga kachada. He wants to be with her. He wants to make love with her. So basically, he's stretching out his left arm in order to give her a hand, in order to bring her up. So let me read a few more words. V'chad hai itar lekabla. When that hand is awakened in the world towards her, for her, kama dechilu sharia ba'alma. How much fear, awe and fear there is in the world. Because as I said, the hand that he's stretching out to her, the arm that he's stretching out to her is his left arm. And the left arm is the side of power. He needs to project strength and he needs to project strength and power in order that all those forces that are keeping the Shekhinah down will be like, will see this and just run away. It's scary. So they're like, uh-oh, when that arm is stretched out, they're like, bye. And they let go of the Shekhinah so that she can be raised up. That's basically what it is. So if you notice, the Zohar is entirely changing our perspective on what's called Yom Hadin, the day of judgment. The judgment, it's like a byproduct of what's actually going on in the world. What's going on in the world is that the Shekhinah is being able to rise up. In actually what's going on is a courting between him and her. And I'll just give you a little spoiler. The end of this drama is going to be Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day, and that's when they actually do it. That's when they actually make love. They start like on Rosh Hashanah, he stretches out his left hand to her to rise her up. This causes the effect of Din. Of course, it's also a Din time because it's the 7th month. So as I was saying before, so this causes that there be Din in the world. So watch out, basically watch out, be careful, get yourself purified. But the reason for this is to pick her up, to raise her up. That's why it's happening. So let me read a bit more, and then I'm going to open it up for people to share or ask questions. But let's just complete this, because we don't see the whole picture yet. So there's so much fear in the world. When does it stop? Adiyana chahu daroa, until he places that arm to chot reshaha, under her head. First he helps her get up, then he puts his left hand under her head, lidchabra, because he wants to connect with her. Kamada Tamar, as it is written, and of course here we're going to the verse that the Zohar reads on the Tishrei holidays, which is from Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, Perek Bet, 2nd chapter, verse 6, Samolo tachat leroshi, his left hand is under my head, v'yamino, and his right hand techabkeni, embraces me. And it's going to see like this verse being sort of acted out through the Tishrei holidays. And where we are now is his left hand, and his left hand which was revealed in the world and terrified all hakochot hame'ikim lashchina, all those external forces that are keeping the Shekhinah down, and then raising her up because he wants to hug her, because, as I said, there's a courting going on right now, and it's going to be more complicated than that, but that we'll see a bit. So let me just finish the paragraph here. Uchedein, and then when the left hand is under her head, or left arm is under, holding her head, then the din, that sense of din and koach and gvura and fear and vengeance, all that rests, all that calms down. And then all sins are pardoned. Okay, so you can see, it doesn't say it yet, but obviously we're going into Yom Kippur. That's the next stage. Levatar, afterwards, ati yamina lachabka. Then it's the turn of his right hand to embrace her. Kedain, when that happens, chedvata sharya ba'alma. There's great joy in the world. V'chol anpin nihiri, and all the faces are enlightened. There's light in everybody's faces. Levatar, afterwards, so he's just telling us what happens. He's not mentioning the holidays yet. Levatar, afterwards, is davgat begufa. Then they actually make love with the entire body. Ucheden kula yikre echad. And then all of reality is called one. All of it becomes one. The lo piruda, without separation. Kedein hu shalima dechula. This is the perfection, the totality, the wholeness of all things. The chedvata dechula, in all beings. The chedvata dechola, and the greatest joy of all. The achidu vadai, and all embracing, all one. We don't experience anything like this any other time. Okay, so that's the general picture. And yeah, I'm going to make a short stop. We're going to go on for about an hour and a quarter. So this is a general picture. We're going to get it into higher resolution in the little time we have left, but I'm just going to ask right now if anybody wants to share something or ask some question, you are most invited to do so. I'll just stop the share for a moment. With Zoom, you got to say, don't be bashful.
Okay, I have a question. This may be completely basic, but when you're saying that the hand is reached out, who's reaching out the hand?
Okay, good question. Actually, very important because that's part of the picture. So in this Kabbalistic drama, so we have a couple, and it's a her and a he. The Shekhinah is the her, and the he is, and it's actually, again, we're talking about one being. We're talking about God. We're talking about the divine. But it's the Zohar takes so seriously what the Torah says, that human beings were created in the image of God. And the Zohar basically says, okay, if this is the image of God, the human image, so if we want to know anything about God, the best place to start looking into that would be studying ourselves, human beings. And the first conclusion is that human beings are male and female. And so therefore they said, okay, so there must be a whole female side of what we call God. And that was in a certain way one of the greatest revelations of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in the Zohar. So now, unfortunately, this couple that we're talking about, again, calling it a couple, it's just a way of us trying to understand what's going on, like in God. A little bit dysfunctional, this couple. And they're just like in Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, a great Jewish love song. Like if you look at the meaning of the verses, the pshat, you show me one moment when they're actually together there. It's independent monologues of him and independent monologues of her. Maybe there's a moment or two, fleeting moments where they actually are in the same physical space. So a lot of our imagination of this whole, great divine couple is around the disconnect. It's a lot around the disconnect between the two of them. And so Tishrei, here for the Zohar we've just learned, becomes this time when actually they're coming towards each other, when actually they're going to get it together. And so the arm is his arm. He's up in the heavens, like in the most basic way of imagining this is the God in the heaven. What do they call it? The transcendent God or something like that. And we identified that with the male one, the male. But it's, more important where they live is just understanding that we're talking about the dynamics of a couple. And so here, the male is stretching out his hand from the heavens, exposing his hand to her, who's basically in the lower realms in the earth with us. Okay? So anyone else want to say something, ask something?
Yeah, I have a question. So is part of the teaching here how critical this time is to be reunifying these forces within ourselves? Is that part of the, even at that time, are we just observing this thing with God and God, or are we trying to emulate it?
Okay, very good question. And it's going, in the next paragraph, it's going to actually relate to us. And basically it's going to say, okay, so it's a time for us to set our accounts straight, because of the deen that's, being revealed in the world. Yeah, we're sort of like going for a ride on this whole thing. We're like trying to be part of it. In the Zohar, the Zohar is like saying to us, look, it's as if all the prayers, I always say it this way, the prayers in the Siddur, for the Zohar and for the Ari, they're the soundtrack. They're not what's going on in the movie. The Zohar and the Ari are telling us the actual movie. The prayers that we do on Rosh Hashanah, they're the soundtrack. And anyone who watches a movie knows that, you know, the soundtrack, it's not always one-on-one, like what's happening on the screen, but, you know, the story, the drama. And the Zohar is telling us the drama. Like for the Zohar, this is what's going on in the universe, not necessarily in ourselves. But the Baal Shem Tov, when Chassidut came, the Baal Shem Tov took this, and the Maggid after him and all the great Rebbes, and they did that, you know, in a later time, in the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st century. That's what we do. We take these things and also see them as, you know, forces or movements that are taking place within ourselves. We internalize them psychologically. But for the Zohar, if we're just in like Zoharic consciousness, the Zohar is telling us what's going on in the world, you know, at that time or in time, you know. And as I said, we can go for the ride because it'll be very good for us to do so, to participate in it and like enhance the process. That's sort of, we'll see it in the next paragraph. Okay, one more person want to say something, ask something? And I will leave another time after we finish the Zohar that we're studying today.
Just want to say, what
I'm not hearing you well. Can you sit a little
for Hashem for the, yeah, so what's the impetus for reaching out of the hand at this time in particular?
I am really sorry. I am not hearing you well enough to understand what you're saying. My screen is saying to me.
He asked what the impetus was
Okay.
for God to be reaching out that other hand.
Oh, what God's impetus was for doing so?
Right, Chaim?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
good. Also a good question. So the impetus, again, it's really a very deep question, but I would give two answers, and there's probably quite a few. Number one, he misses her. He misses her. And you know, it's going to be all the holidays, Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot, so he'd like to be with her, number one. And number two, I think the answer would be that because it's the 7th month, again, so important. She is number 7. She is 7. She is Shabbat. If you remember from Kabbalat Shabbat, Raza de Shabbat, Ihi Shabbat. The secret of Shabbat is that she is Shabbat. She is the 7th. So the fact that the 7th month is coming means for him, he's remembering her and feeling her presence really, really powerfully. Because the 7th month. So he's saying, wow, where is she? You know, I want her. I want her. So he's, you know, it's funny in the way the Kabbalah tells it. I mean, you know, it's a very general statement, but she is with us, but she really has never forgotten him. He, however, tends to fall asleep, or, you know, he's just not always there. How can I say it? But this is like, okay, we don't need to go into all that right now. Okay, so I'm going to finish off the Zohar right now, and then I'll leave another time. And if there's people who didn't speak before who want to share something, I would be most obliged. Let's just go back to this so that we'll have all the picture in our mind. Just scroll it down a bit to make sure I know what I'm doing here. Yeah, I think we can get through this. Okay, so I'm going to do this a little quicker. I might stop earlier. Let's see. Kigavna Dahai. Okay, so just like this what I've described until now, Sidura Dahani Yomi. This is exactly the order, the arrangement of these days. Can you remember? Originally, Rabbi Fiat asked Rabbi Lezer, what is the arrangement? Like, what's the whole, you know, Sidur, it's the word Sidur of the days. Like he says, okay, you know, like, how is this whole period? How is it built? Like, what's Psukkot Zimo? What's Shacharit? You know, how is it like structured? Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Batra Dechag, from Rosh Hashanah till Shmini Atzeret, the last day of Sukkot. So now he's going to just take what we did and, you know, sort of cut and paste it into the holidays. The Rosh Hashanah, add hypertext. The Rosh Hashanah, on Rosh Hashanah, it's Ardroa Smala. That's when the left arm is awakened, to receive the Matranuta. Matranuta is one of our names for the Shekhinah. It's like the matron. It's, very, very distinguished matron. This is, of course, a word from, Rabbi Shimon. That's like about, 1800, 2000 years ago. Ucheden kol alma b'dechilu b'dina. And then all the world is in fear, in din. Again, that's why Rosh Hashanah is Yom Adin, because of the revelation of the left arm, not because he's saying, oh, it's trial time, children. It's because this force is now active and potent in the world. He says, this is, in that time, it would be a great idea to be in perfect tshuva, in perfect returning. That would be the absolute best state for the world to be in before the Holy One, blessed be He, who reveals His left arm. Holy One, blessed be He, that's Kutshabrichu, that's how we call the male side here. It's Kutshabrichu and the Shekhinah. So because He's revealing His left arm, this would be a very good time to be on your very best. Levatar, afterwards, Atayit Matranuta. She comes. Uvayan b'nei chala betisha leyarcha lemev l'archedveta ulemitba b'nahara. So this is another word for the Kabbalists. B'nei chala, the people who live in the palace, the children of the palace. The palace, of course, is the palace of the king and the queen, where this whole drama is taking place. So now she's coming, okay? Her big day, in a certain way, as you're going to see in a moment, is Yom Kippur. So now, what do we have to do? Like Kay was asking before. So we become, for the Zohar, meaning the mystics, the Kabbalists, we are the Na'arot HaShekhinah. We are the Na'arot HaKala. We are like the Shekhinah's women or girls. I don't know how to say it exactly in English, or maidens. In other words, we're there, we're combing her hair, we're putting her jewelry on her, we're dressing her. That's what the tzaddikim do. In the Zohar, that's what the tzaddikim do. And we're participating in her experience mainly. All the kavanot, all the intentions, almost all of them, of the Ari, or the great majority, are, and certainly in the Zohar, is how to participate in the Shekhinah. So what are we doing? So we're on the 9th day of Tishrei, which is Erev Yom Kippur. So basically we're going to the mikvah. The custom is to go to the mikvah on that day. Why? Because she is going to a mikvah or an ocean or a stream, probably the ocean, as you'll see in a moment, so as to purify herself before she's going to be with him. Okay, so she's going to the mikvah, and so we are going with her, and we're also making her happy. We're like saying, wow, this is a very happy time. So I'll read it again and translate it again. Uvayan b'nei chala, and the children of the palace need betisha liyarcha on the 9th day of the month, lameh bad chedvata, lasot sameach. In other words, to make things happy, to make things joyful. Ulemitbal benahara, and to immerse in the water of the river. Now, the Zohar is doing sort of a play on word here, as it is in Hebrew, but more in Aramaic. Nahara means both river and light. So the real mikvah we're going to, of course, we're going to water, but we're going to a mikvah of light, because that's her mikvah, and we're participating with her. Uledaka garmaihu, and to purify themselves, b'zivuga d'matrinuta b'yoma achara, in order to purify themselves for the lovemaking of the Shekhinah, which will take place on another day. But now, what it is, it's the coming together of, this is like the ultimate meeting it's a zivug, the unity of the left. The left is now it's in its most beautiful expression, because for instance, joy comes from the left, not from the right. Joy comes from the left. So left, it's not just about din, and it's not just about force and power and all those words. It's also about music. It's also about joy. Okay, there's a lot of words we need to use to get a full picture of the left. So that's why calling it just Yom Adin, Day of Judgment, really gives us the wrong idea. Okay, K'mo Tamar, just like it says, Smolo tachat l'roshi, his left hand under my head. She, of course, is the speaker, the narrator. Okay, we're going to do one more, just do Yom Kippur in this picture, and then we'll pick it up next time. Uchedein, then, in other words, on Yom Kippur, after going to the mikvah on the 9th, beta'anita al chovaihu. This is actually very much, in response to what Kay brought up before, this is very much putting the spotlight on us. So we're fasting over our iniquities. Actually, the Zoharic word that we translate as iniquity or chet, sin, the Zoharic word, which I really like, I mean, it's not just Zoharic, it is Hebrew also, it's chov. Chov means debt, okay? This is karmic. This is like, do you have karmic credit or karmic debit? So the word that we call sin actually means debt, overdraft, like when you've been using energy that you don't actually have. And you need to like balance that out. That's actually what Yom Kippur is about. So we're fasting to receive this kapara. But where is it coming from? Where is this ability, where is this possibility, potential of becoming purified coming from? And this is really interesting. We're not going to be learning about it this year, but here you're going to hear it. Daha ima ila'a anhirit anpaha lamatranuta bezivugaha. Because what happens on Yom Kippur does not happen any other day of the year. Listen to this. Yom Kippur, this is, okay, let me do it this way. The divine name, Yud, He, Vav, He, 4 letters. In the Idra, in the Zohar, it's made into the divine family. 4 letters, it's daddy and mom, and son and daughter, who also happen to be lovers. Okay, they're also husband and wife, and they're also, they're also son and daughter, and they're also brother and sister. But we're not going to get into that at this particular moment. It's like father, mother, son, daughter, and it is a hierarchy. It's going from father to mother. I mean, they're pretty much on the same level, but then it goes to the son, and the son goes to the daughter. Okay? So usually the daughter, who's like at the end of this, she's also at the end of creation. She's also the crown of creation, which is why she's with humanity and other sentient beings on earth and the rest of space. So she's sort of last on the food chain in a certain way, of the food chain of divine light. But on Yom Kippur, we have a very, very special configuration that we don't have anything like it any other day of the year, which is she receives directly from the mother. Okay, she is the daughter, she's the queen, whatever you want to call, but there's also the universal mother. That, those of you who know Sfirot, I'm talking about the Sfirah of Binah, but the Zohar often does not call Sfirot by their name. The Zohar calls it, by other names, words that bring up other sorts of association for us, because Sfirot often conceptualizes it too much. And we want to feel these things. So we're talking about our mother. And there's, usually the connection is mother to son to Shekhinah, who's with us. Like again, our identification is with her. And on Yom Kippur, he's sort of out of the picture. He's not entirely out of it, but there's a direct connection between the Shekhinah and her mother. And she is sort of like, the Zohar says it here, she is like showing her enlightened face to the Matranuta, to the Shekhinah, for her zivug, for her coming together with her lover. And then anybody who's around for this scene, all the children of the palace, all of the, guests are all like, they all get kapara. All the debts are erased and purified. Kivan desmala makabla labahu yoma, because this is actually the day when he totally receives her with his left side. Deresha dematranuta, because her head, Sharya, is leaning or resting on his left. That is the day of Yom Kippur. And again, because we are identified with the Shekhinah, so we receive a special light on Yom Kippur, the light of the Great Mother, not through a filter. We're always receiving her life, but light and her life. She is called life, but we're receiving it through sort of filters so that, we need to dilute it a bit in order that this reality could exist. But on Yom Kippur, we're receiving that light in an unmediated fashion. The connection between mother and daughter, and also approval of the mother of the daughter's relationship is also a big part of it. Okay, I'm going to finish that paragraph next time because I feel like enough said for now, and open it up again with priority to someone who hasn't spoke yet. Okay, if nobody's saying anything, I'm going to open it up. Okay.
There's a question. So here, what we're learning is that this unmediated connection between mother and daughter, Bina and Malchut, Shekhinah, it only happens on Yom Kippur, or because my understanding that this is also a practice, maybe later Kabbalists, of trying to connect Malchut and Bina, that being a practice also.
Absolutely, because because the thing is that also what goes on, let's say the entire year, is sort of replicated in Tishrei and is also replicated or in one day. So yes, you're absolutely right. This is like when we're looking at the year, so we're saying, wow, this is the day when that happens. But it's not like that can't happen or needs to happen, every day, actually. So, yes, you're absolutely right. But Yom Kippur, it's happening in a sort of universal way that it doesn't happen any other time. That's what makes it so special. By the way, that's the reason that in the Beit HaMikdash, the Kohen Gadol went into the Kodesh HaKodashim on Yom Kippur, because Binah, the mother, she's called Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies. That is her also. So his entering Kodesh Kodashim on Yom Kippur is entering the mother, basically. That's what it is. He's sort of the Yesod, without getting into too much detail on this one. Okay, anybody else want to share something?
It also brought up associations of other times, Shavuot, with marriage and things like that. And what it made me think of is that it said that during the month of Elul, the king is in the field, right? And so there's like this whole kind of lead up to it, this whole month, this proximity happening.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? I never really thought of this, but actually the king in the field he's come to look for her, basically. That's what it is. By Rosh Hashanah, he finds her in the field and stretches out his left hand to her, his left arm to her. But yeah, the king in the field is Elul, exactly that, because he's looking for her. He knows she's somewhere in the field, so he's looking for her, for sure.
And that's our big chance to get a little FaceTime.
Exactly. FaceTime. Wow. That's exactly what it is. It's about, I was saying before, they give all sorts of reasons why the disconnect. And one of the reasons is because they don't know to look face into face, And so, so it's definitely FaceTime. I'll remember that. Okay, anybody else want to say something, share something?
Well, it's interesting about the field because the field is another name for Shekhinah too, right? I mean,
Yeah. That's why they're
Yeah.
called Chatzei Chakla, the
Yeah.
harvesters of the field, because
Uh-huh,
they're busy
uh-huh.
with the Shekhinah all the time.
So the farmer in me reminds that if it's at the end of the season and they're in the field, they're gleaning, there's nothing left but the shreds of the harvest. And so in bringing them back together to renew, it's that which is left over for the most bereft of us, the poorest of us, the ones that need to be brought back together.
Very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. And that's, again, that's the holiness. That's where a mitzvah is, because it's going to be a mitzvah to share and to, and to take care of the weaker parts of, and those who are in need or broken in any way. So that's very special. It's very special. It's true. I never thought of that either. It's good to say also because a lot of the times the Mekubalim, the Kabbalists, they're elitists. They're sort of elitists. So they need to be reminded that that's their work. That's their real work. Okay, anyone else want to share something? Okay, so I want to thank you all for being with me and have a really, really excellent week. May these fires be healed. May the world be healed. May this FaceTime, as David said, that's being awakened during Chodesh Elul, may it reveal a new way to us through the sea that's that's going to bring waters of life, Mayim Chaim, to all sentient beings. So see you all soon, and I'll send you the link to the recording. Okay.
Thank you, Abraham.
thank you, Avraham.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you. Thank you
Good
so
evening.
much.
Everyone be well.
What though?
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.